All right, everyone. The New York Times was happy the other day because more than 10 people cared about their article. They had something about America being alone and hated. Basically the ugly American sort of thing. Well, Trump is a bully. He's pissing away alliances. He doesn't know anything about diplomacy. Woe is us. And I'm looking at the economy. I'm looking even at Trump's approval. I'm like, I don't see the disaster here. No, America was hated. It was hated after the Iraq War began. No, that's pretty much an afterthought now. We're not really operating there anymore, thank goodness. Afghanistan, we got a few thousand men over there. I don't think we should have any, by the way, but it's not exactly a major conflict that we're embroiled in. We're not in any major wars. Economic growth is up, unemployment is down, the stock market's doing fine. We're rebuilding our ties in Asia that Obama tried to piss away. Hell, Trump is trying to get North Korea onto the world stage. If he's successful, it'll end a war that's almost 80 years old. It's great. It's a good thing. These are good things that are happening. I don't see America being hated. No, I think that there are groups that do, though. First and foremost, I'd say it's very funny because the corporate media is far less approved of and far less trusted than Trump or really any other politician at this point. The worst members of Congress have more approval than the fucking New York Times has, and probably more solid fans. How many people bother reading fucking newsprint anymore anyway? No, they're using the alt media. That's why YouTube has to give $25 million to put your articles on independent media sources as links, because you can't compete with us. You can't compete with someone with a friggin' webcam sitting in their friggin' bedroom. So some dude comes along and he's like, yeah, I'm still in college. I've got this fucking $20 webcam and I can compete with the Wall Street Journal. You're at a loss. You're the one losing. You're the one that's hated. As far as America being hated, though, no. Globalists hate Donald Trump. That's what you really mean. They hate Donald. This article talks about, well, Trump's basically shitting all over the liberal global world order. No, the globalist order, why don't you stop using newspeak terms? It's not liberal in the sense of supporting democracy, Western values, and freedom. Where's the freedom? You're constantly trying to censor and suppress people. I don't see much freedom anywhere in the Western world at this point. Here, things are better than many places, here in maybe Canada, but, look, other countries. There are three different things here that are at play. Three things. Immigration, NATO, that is the military side of spending, and trade deals, really. Those are the three things that you're really concerned about with regards to globalism. The problem is that successive administrations since the neocon, neolib era began have ignored these issues and allowed people to slowly abuse us more and more. On immigration, for instance. Immigration reform was last attempted at any serious level in the early 1980s with Stimson-Mazzoli. If it had gone a little further, we wouldn't be having this national conversation. If it had just involved hiring more people and deporting, and not having sanctuary cities, obviously, which already technically existed, not allowing that, and then having a competent border defense, we wouldn't be having this conversation. There'd be 1/10 as many people illegally in this country. It wouldn't be a major issue. It wouldn't be a major issue because a lot of people would be dissuaded from bothering. Mexico is building a fence on its southern border. Did you know that? Yeah. There's a reason why they're building it. It's to stop people from coming over so they can guard their border more ably. Because it makes sense, because fences and walls do actually work. There's a reason that they exist. They were invented for a reason. It's not just to keep animals out of your fucking pumpkin patch. That's one issue. Successive administrations largely ignored the immigration crisis since the 1980s. We're talking a span of about 35 years that it has been consistently ignored, leading to the problem that we have today. Trump realizes, hey, this isn't going to work long term. It's going to keep being a problem. I want to solve it. Oh my God, you big orange bully. No, the problem is people got used to the government not giving a damn about the issue and only raising it as a political issue. Only raising it during elections. Obama and Bush and Clinton and everyone else sounded a lot like Trump on the campaign trail when they were running. Oh yeah, you have to come in only legally. We're going to deport everyone who's here illegally. We're going to build a better border defense system. We need more ICE agents. They're overtaxed. They all talked a big game, but they never did anything. Trump talks a big game and then walks a big walk, and everyone freaks out because they're not used to the government doing that. So there's number one. The globalists don't like the idea that we would stop exploiting third worlders as cheap labor to work in fucking sweatshops. Or that the Democrats wouldn't be able to use them as political pawns. Because really, the Democrats want to use them as votes, and the Republicans want to use them as slaves. That's what it fucking boils down to. And everyone wants to use it as a cheap wedge issue, so they can play up to their brain-dead fans if they're still establishmentarian. So that's issue one. Issue two is NATO. NATO countries are supposed to spend a certain amount of GDP by certain times on NATO in order to take pressure off us. Half of them are doing that. Congratulations to you. You're doing what you need to do. You're going to continue to be defended for fucking ever. The rest of them are not doing that. The reason is this. They realize that if they came in a little bit below the mark, no U.S. politician wanted to raise it as an issue. It wasn't a lot of money, and they didn't want to rock the boat because rocking the boat, change is scary. Politicians don't like change. It makes them nervous. That's what it fucking ultimately boils down to. The problem is, once one country does it, another one says, hey, they're only spending 1.8% of GDP. Why can't we do that? You know, the Americans, they're not going to care. We're close to 2, and they're not talking about it. It's only a few $1 million. Who cares? So then soon everyone is doing that. And then it metastasizes. It goes beyond NATO spending and into everything else. Like they're supposed to spend, I think, a certain amount on their general defense as well. Many of them don't do that. Eastern Europe, I think, spends much more. So, yeah, Poland is pulling the weight for half of Western Europe at this point. Hungary and the Balkan states, too. It's pretty funny. The Baltic states, rather. It's hilarious. What happens is it's a lot like centralized bureaucracy. A little bit of that socialist bureaucracy raises your efficiency. It doesn't cost a lot. You have a few government workers to pay for, but they vastly raise output. And it improves people's lives, and it's a wonderful thing. The problem is this. Once you build a little bit of it, people say, hey, if that works, maybe a little bit more is good. And then maybe a little bit more, and pretty soon you're spending hundreds of billions on discretionary funds that you don't technically need to spend a penny on. Because the private market could do it better, or it could be handled by localities or states, or it doesn't need to be done at all. Like the EPA, it's worthless. The EPA is completely toothless. Every time a Republican's in office, it doesn't do anything anyway. We should just scrap it entirely. Shouldn't have the EPA. Just have a panel of scientists to recommend judicial charges against companies that go against certain norms with regards to environmentalism. That's all you gotta do. It'd be 10 times cheaper. You wouldn't have 100,000 fucking employees to pay for, or whatever ungodly amount lives in the crevices of DC in some of these bureaus. You get a little bit. And it's like, oh, it's okay. It's fine. It's only a few $1 million. Oh, our economy's in the trillions. Nobody cares. But a little bit more over time. It keeps incrementally creeping up until it strangles you. And pretty soon, because it's boiled the frog, you don't even realize it. The next time you have an economic crisis, you're like, hey, we're running into deep debt here. How? Oh, that's right. The economy declined when we have enormous amounts of spending, to the point where people thought it was voodoo economics and terrible and going to collapse the economy when Reagan simply freezed spending for a couple years. He didn't even decline spending. People thought he was going to cut bureaus. He didn't cut anything. He didn't take a hatchet to it. He didn't take scissors to it. He didn't even take little plastic kitty scissors to it. He just froze spending for a couple years. People thought that he was vast right-winger for doing it. Trump's tearing up regulation, so that's number 2. Number 3 is trade. The problem is it is not free trade if other countries impose tariffs. What Trump's trying to do is get them to remove or reduce the tariffs. So he has to start a tariff war. Eventually, they get tired of it. They say, okay, we're throwing in the towel. It's not worth basically destroying our own economies. The U.S. is a major importer. The U.S. is a larger economy. We can't win this battle. Give Trump what he wants. So they'll settle with him and they'll say, okay, you remove the tariffs, we'll remove some of ours. So that, sense is restored. If this is going to make America hated, that we're trying to take care of what's ours, who cares? What, just because an ally gets pissed off doesn't mean you're wrong, Germany didn't stop being an ally when Angela Merkel's private cell phone was being spied on by the NSA in the Obama era. If that sort of thing can go under the radar, nobody really cares, then him saying, well, you're throwing Angela Merkel a piece of candy, what the fuck, who cares? We're the largest economy and the largest military power. A lot of people are reliant upon the U.S. The large swaths of the world need our surplus grain or they'd starve to death. No, we're not the bad guys. Bad guys is being world police, and these same neoliberals want us to do that. Oh, you should haul off and start more proxy wars, U.S., because otherwise you're not taking the lead on the world stage. But don't fucking tariff us. No, you say you love free trade. Yeah, how is it free trade if you're tariffing our goods and we're not doing anything in retaliation? Remove your tariffs. That's what Trump asked you to do. Remove and reduce the tariffs. That's all you got to do. So what? You lose a little bit of money. So in other words, we're supposed to look out for your economy before we look out for ours, or we are bullies. We're mean and Trump is evil. That makes no sense at all. It doesn't make sense. Fuck the global order. The global order is the Iraq war. The global order is millions of people displaced in Syria. The global order is the UN not doing anything about genocide. The global order is people getting fucked every which way but loose. Third worlders, third world countries get brain drain, and we have social alienation and systemic unemployment here among immigrant communities. That's the global world order. That's not the sort of globe I want to live in. Yeah, give it over to someone who knows what they're doing. I think that person is Trump. Yes, I honestly do. And I'm not even fully on board. Look, I'm a monarchist. I would slash the size of government by 50% and withdraw from a hell of a lot of theaters around the world. I'd be much more isolationist than Trump, but it's a start. And hopefully it is just a start. Hopefully we get 2 or 3 more populists in a row in there. Hopefully we can get President Rand Paul at some point. That would be a good idea. I think he would do even better. Yes, I unironically believe that too. That's about all. Peace out.